All right, everybody. Today's show is something that is obviously very near and dear to my heart. It's a component of the last 20 plus years in the GWAT, and that's helping our brothers heal from what they've gone through. And so I really wanted to reach out and bring on not only one of my favorite shit talkers on X, but also one of the most dedicated guys that's leading the charge to really make a difference with soft members and their health and improving, and that's Clay Martin. So Clay, welcome to the show, man. I'm so grateful that you came on.
David, brother, thanks for having me, man. I can't thank you enough for having me on here, man. This is a awareness of this issue and what we're going to do about it now that we actually have a solution. Most important thing in my life.
All right, let's just back up a little bit. Obviously, you know, when you left service, you know, how long did it take before you realized that what you were dealing with was not just, you know, old age?
Dude, a long time, actually. I was medically retired too, which brings about its own issues. Is that, you know, there's all this mental stuff, like you weren't ready to go and now you're kicked out the door and all this bullshit. But man, I would say probably 5-6 years. So one of the problems with us, man, is we don't talk about this shit. We don't talk about weakness or, you know, I go to the gym and I get no gains or I can't. We don't tell each other that shit. We're trying to tough guy through it like we're still on a team for some reason. And there were a lot of things that I was experiencing that I didn't know my teammates were going through the exact same thing 200 miles away. Because, I mean, we never talk about it.
Yeah, for me, it was when the suicide started to creep up, like 08, 09, 2010. Yeah. And that's when I was just like, all right, what's going on? And then by 2015, I just started feeling a ton of it. And for me, in 2016 is when I met a guy named Dr. Chris Free. And he's the one who wrote the book Operator Syndrome.
Yeah. Oh, really?
And yeah. We've been friends a long time. And he was the one who really brought to my attention, because he does a lot of work with the SEAL Future Foundation. And they really promote the VETS program down in Mexico.
Oh, yeah.
And
that's a great one, by the way, yeah.
And then I started having all my buddies go through different forms of using, you know, natural medicine to help with that. When were you introduced to it, and what was your primary reason you wanted to explore this? Okay,
so it's probably around like 2019, 2020. All right, I started having real like health problems too. I ended up in the hospital. This shoulder that had been repaired before. I got a blood clot down. It was in both lungs. That was a fucking mess. By the time I got to the VA, wow. I spent like a year and a half on blood thinners, and in that I fell apart more than two, because I had a year and a half where I wasn't even allowed to do cardio. They're like, hey, if your heart rate gets up, you know, you might just jar this thing loose and you'll die. So just kind of lay there and let your wife do the hard part. You know, it was that bad. It was like, whoa. So that caused now that I can't do anything, not even any maintenance, when I got off those blood thinners, I think I realized more than what a mess I was health-wise. Because now, I can't make up any ground. And the term operator syndrome, I don't even think I heard that term until maybe 2020, 2021. But it covered everything. It's like, oh my God, somebody's acting. But again, all this stuff that we're all going through, but nobody's talking to each other. We're trying to get a job or a tough guy through this shit. And so I will say I was kind of looking for a solution. And actually one of my buddies called me and introduced me to they call it transcranial magnetic stimulation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there was a charity that had it together, and I went and did that, and it did help. I mean, it was a little gain. Like I say, it was like a 15% gain, and they gave me all kinds of supplements to go with it, and testosterone if I wanted it, which I didn't actually take because I was afraid that if I took unnatural testosterone, it would damage my body's ability to make it. So it helped some, but I think actually what it did was it gave me enough of a boost. I'm like, okay, I've got to do something about my health, and I got to look for something else. Around this same time, I was actually teaching a group of Bitcoin nerds out of Texas how to shoot, right? So these guys are all successful and wealthy dudes, and they're cutting edge and all this other stuff. And as they're talking to me or talking to each other offline, they're talking about like microdosing mushrooms and things like that, using it as a therapeutic, and how much it's helped them. So I finally asked one of them, like, hey, like hypothetically, like what would that do? And they're like, oh man, we've been waiting. Come here, dog. And a couple of them had actually already donated like a big amount of money to like Vets Inc., some of these other places that are doing the Mexico things. And like, we're seeing like basically results that are like incredible. So like, yeah, if you wanted to, give it a go, it would probably help you a lot. And so that's actually where I got my first, stash, if you will. But man, I was still scared of it, bro. That sat in my freezer for a year before I had the stones to do it.
Wow. Had you ever done it before you went in, or no, didn't touch a thing? Dude,
I'm like the most Nancy Reagan guy that you ever met. Like, like I wanted to go in the military from like an early age. So, I was like, oh no, you'll cut your face off with razor blades if you do any of that stuff. And you can't smoke weed because it's a gateway drug. I'd never smoked weed before I went in.
Wow.
Yeah, I was that straight laced. So, I'd never even considered it. And, I think to a degree that actually made it scarier. I'm like, wait a minute, man, this is a big, big step.
Oh, it's massive. It's massive. I mean, there's so much mysticism, right? Is probably the best word, affiliated with, tripping your face off, or, whatever that is, right? Yeah. It's all built up from the counterculture movement, and Timothy Leary and all those guys.
Right.
But, I think for me, the big shift was, I had these friends that it was crazy. Like when I used to do a show with some guy, Marcus Luttrell, back in the day, and he started talking a little bit about some of these therapeutics, and I was just like, wait, what? There's like people are taking hallucinogenics and it's helping, and then what really kind of exploded. I remember reading an article about that guy Tim Ferriss, like one of the first big podcasts, and he raised like $17 million to start a veteran research program at Johns Hopkins.
Yes,
and that was based on there was a study that had done for using psilocybin to treat people that had terminal cancer.
Yep,
and found immeasurable therapeutic effects to improve end of
life care. Yes.
End of life care. That's right.
No, it's absolutely awesome. Yeah.
So now it's sitting in your freezer for a year. What was the threshold point for you? What was the thing that got you over the line?
Well, man, this is actually hugely important. And this is part of the reason that I've been so vocal about it now. Is because a lot of those dudes, like, I didn't know. I had never heard, like, Marcus Luttrell talk about it. And apparently this is, like, more widespread than I knew, but not a lot of those guys had talked about it yet, in my knowledge, and certainly none of, like, my peers had, like my brother. It turns out that after I did this, like, a bunch of them were like, oh, yeah, man, it's awesome. I just didn't tell you for some reason. Like, thanks, Dick. But
well, it's that shame, right? It's I'm a druggie, or I'm something. There's something wrong with me. It's that same. It's that shame of ambition that's built in, right?
Well, I think there's a couple other things that go along with it too. I'd actually never considered that, but that is a piece of it. The other parts are, man, this is true. This is definitely true for us soft guys. I was scared to do it because my thought process was something like this, like, I'm technically a mass murderer. Like, I'm good at it. All right, do I really want to pour, because you know what the fuck a hallucinogenic does? I've never done it before. Am I going to pour that on this guy? Like, what am I going to fucking do? Like, if I decide that I'm going to go crazy, they're going to need to send like 5 counties worth of SWAT teams to get me where I'm at. It's going to be.
They're going to call in the National Guard for you, bud.
It's good, but you know what I mean. Like, seriously, it'd be ugly.
Once that barbarian spirit is unleashed, they're going to find hatchets in 5 states,
right? Because you don't know you're going to lay down, and you just think from like watching bad after school specials and shit, like, I might go crazy. No, you're not, man. But you don't know that. The second part, I've heard a number of my peers say this too. They're afraid, and I was afraid of this too. They're afraid that it's going to turn them like into a pussy, basically. Because we've seen all this hippie, peace and love bullshit. And we're kind of all afraid, like, I'm going to take this and I'm going to wake up and I'm not going to be able to kill a grasshopper again. I'm going to be like walking through life like a Buddhist monk. And, I like that edge about me. that is part of us, that like killer instinct and all those things. That's a piece of us that we can't let go of, really. So, I mean, I was a little bit concerned that maybe we'd take that away too. Let me see what else. Yeah. And then, just like the standard fears, like I'm going to be an addict. I'm going to be a suicide. Yeah. Like, yeah, that's not even a real thing, but that could be. And so I was scared. I was afraid of it. And that's why it sat for so long. What finally pushed it over the edge for me, like I got to do something. I was just kind of in this spot of like, I wasn't like deeply suicidal or anything like that, but I'm like, I just know now. And again, I think that the TMS helped me get to this point. Like, I know I'm a fucking mess. I know that I'm not handling life well. I know that I'm not, loving my kids as much as I could. And I've just got this brain fog and this lack of ambition. I'm just a fucking disaster. I don't recognize myself anymore.
Wow. I think in all the guys that I've talked to that have been in our state, in that state where it's almost like that hope is dwindling. It's the reservoir of that willpower to want to keep that edge, right, and work, because you still have it in your head, but it's not as easily attainable as it was when you're in, right? Right. Every day you wake up, there's, from 0 dark 30 till middle of the night, it's planned out and you can just execute. Now you got to figure out it on your own. Right. When you, obviously, if you don't mind, would you talk about that first experience?
Yeah, sure.
What I want to just talk to you a little bit about is our new Embrace Fear curriculum that's available on davidrutherford.com. It's a part of the Frog Logic Institute, which is going to be an emerging group of core products or core curriculum that I've been working on over the past 30 years. The first in line is learning to embrace your fear. Fear is the number one emotion that impedes us from achieving anything that we truly want to put our minds to, right? It's that emotion that's wired in. You've been taught it your whole life. It's that one thing that you really has to get a hold of. Now, here's the deal. There's no such thing as fearless. So please go to davidrutherford.com, go to courses, and sign up for your Embrace Fear curriculum. This is a 5-week or 5-month course. I recommend doing it over the course of 5 months. And this course is designed not only to help you understand your fear, to accept your fear, to begin to retrain your brain with the fear, to test your fear every day, and then ultimately to live with courage and to deal with your fear as a motivational component to go help you achieve your purpose in life. So don't waste time. Go to davidrutherford.com and check out our Embrace Fear curriculum. Thank you.
So I did it in a way that I don't necessarily recommend for everybody else, but this is what happened, so I'm going to talk about it. So I don't even think I'd talked to my wife about me doing this. Maybe I'd like vaguely talked to her about it like months in the past. And my wife was wildly opposed to it for this reason of she did a lot of recreational hallucinogenics when she was way younger. She was a teenager, long before we knew each other. And so she had this kind of fear too of seeing the bad side of things. All right, what can happen, because that's usually where it happens. So she wasn't really on board with it, and I was kind of like, fuck, I have to do this. Like, I also don't think she understood like how bad of a spot I was in, because we tend to mask that from our wives.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So finally I'm like, hey, fuck it. I got to do this. I got to do something. So I basically waited for a night for her to go to bed early, which doesn't really happen that often. And I'm like, fuck, I'm going to go to my garage with its concrete floor, and I make like a little nest out of fucking lawn chair cushions and shit. And I'm like, I'll lock the door and hope I don't remember how to open it. And I'm going to do this. And whatever happens, happens. Hopefully I don't die in the fucking garage like a total dumbass. Wow. And man, I'm also like scared of the mushroom. So I'm treating it like Sears School. Like at like noon, I take some and I rub it on the inside of my arm, like see if I have an allergy. like 4 hours before I take a little bite, chew it up and spit it out. Make sure I don't like break out in hives or some shit. Yeah. So
That's so true, dude.
It is. It's us, man. That's us. So it's fucking ridiculous in retrospect. But I did all this stuff. So night comes, she's in bed. I'm like, oh, I can't sleep. Go downstairs, lock the garage up, and I take like half of my dose, which is, so I had like 4.5 grams around. I took like 2.5 of it, and I'm kind of like, okay, here we go. Let's see what happens. And it takes so long to kick in too. The first time you just be like, oh, I'm immune to this shit. Like nothing happens. It's like,
I'm a team guy. I need 10 times the amount. Right.
Well, yeah. And it turns out for me, quite the opposite is true. Like I probably could have just taken that 2.5 and I'd have been fine. So like an hour and 20 minutes, and I'm just like, everything's visual. And I'm like, oh fuck, here we go. And yeah, it was wild.
Can you describe some of what did you do to keep your mind engaged? Like, you know, you hear people talk about it all the time. They say, all right, go into it with intention. Mm-hmm. Let the medicine work on you, and you don't try and work the medicine, right. All these things. And had you done research prior to it as well?
Not really. I had talked to my buddy who's he's one of the civilian guys, but he's got a lot of experience. He's got like 10 years of experience in this, and like, hundreds of thousands of dollars with like high level guys. So he's got a lot of experience, and he kind of talked me through it. So, it's not like I was completely alone as far as what to do. But still, I didn't tell him. I didn't like call him prior to or anything. And this actually kind of crosses into the space where I'm at now. The difference between there's 3 ways that you can use these things, and that's recreationally, which I don't recommend for anyone, therapeutically, and then ritually. And honestly, most therapy is closer to ritual. There's times where you're like laying on the shrink's couch. That's different. All the things that the guys do in Mexico and things like that, like ayahuasca, is that a close mix of like ritual and medicine. It's kind of that gray area in between.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I for a little bit of time, I knew the Aubrey Marcus over at On It. Sponsored my podcast for a little bit. And, that was right when he was really breaking out. That's when Joe Rogan was having all, the mushroom expert on all the time. And it really kind of like gained this, momentum societally to where you started seeing it all over the place. But still there was this resistance within the veteran community, I think because of all those things you've already described. But it's like you said, somewhere around 2020, 21, 22, kind of like after the COVID thing kind of really woke everybody up and like, wait a minute, man, there's another approach. That's when it kind of exploded. So, when I always hear about going down, and I've had a lot of people go down to Peru and do the deep in the Amazon type of ritual stuff. Yeah. Some guys were like, man, it was a lot. I'm not sure that was good. And then, all the Mexico guys have all said they loved it. And I think I probably have, 40 friends that have done it now. But then there's this other aspect, this therapeutic side that I don't think gets a lot of attention. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about the therapeutic aspect of it?
I can, to a degree. I can talk about that personally with me, but in a legal context, because of what I'm doing now, I cannot. Got it. We had to stay very firmly in the religious space, because that's where we are.
Got it.
But I will definitely say from my first time. So my first experience was crazy. That's part of the reason I wrote the book. It was absolutely bonkers. Very visual, very visceral.
Can you tell the audience the name of the book too, and when you wrote it?
Sure. The name of the book is Barbarian Spirit. I actually just checked the date yesterday. It came out a year ago, June 29th.
Congratulations on that, by the way.
Thank you, brother. So in fact, you know what? I'll skip over the story part of that and get to what I saw as the benefit on the backside of it. So mine was super intensely visual. It was crazy. And it was also a very religious experience for me, which set a lot of these other things in motion. But on the side, like the health side, when I walked out of that the next day, man, for the first time in like, I can't even tell you how long, I felt like me again, if that makes any sense. I felt like I had like hit the reset. I felt like I was 25 years old again mentally. Now, unfortunately, my body wasn't still 25, but my head was so clear. I swear for like 2 weeks after I was done, I could actually feel like my brain kind of like growing back together is what it felt like. Had so much clarity. The brain fog was gone. Ambition. It wasn't like crazy. It wasn't like drug, but it was like an ambition, where it should be for where I'm at in life. I felt good. I slept amazing. This has been something that I've seen a lot of other dudes do at their first time. Sleep. Guys haven't slept in 20 years. Now they're sleeping like 9 hours a night, like a baby. And the biggest thing I would say on like the feeling side of things, like I felt like a different connection to my kids that I'd never had before.
Yes.
And that alone was worth like the price of admission.
I love that. That's my favorite piece I hear the most, right? Is that I can finally look at my child and connect with them on the level that they need.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
As opposed to being the ultimate protector, the
right, all this
vigilance,
other shit. Yeah.
All that, you just let that go. And now all of a sudden you're communicating with them and they feel it, right? They know the difference.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah.
When dad's got the armor on and then when dad's, available. And that I think is the most positive aspect of it, I think.
Oh, me too. It's changed my relationship with my wife so much too. For the positive, like all for the positive. I feel like it's like this. I don't remember if this was an original thought or somebody else said it, but it's relevant. It's almost like we turned off all these emotions and shit when we fought the war, right? We had to. Because dudes were dying, and it doesn't matter if your teammate got zapped yesterday. We're going fucking back out today, and you can mourn for him when we get home. And people are getting fucked up, and we do. It's a Western way of warfare too. It's very cold, very calculated, and that's required. I mean, that's actually something they beat into us, and something they select for so that we can be the guys that we are. Are you this kind of heartless fucking killing machine for the most part? And the war just makes that worse because we have to now actually do these things. We turn our emotions off. And I think in a lot of ways, like we forget or we don't know how to turn them back on. Then that is something else that's a side effect of the. That's really what I felt like it was for me. It didn't like all come rushing back at once, but I did feel like I could actually have like a real like emotional connection to my children and wife after that.
I never like before I went in, man. I always laugh when I tell people this, but I was an art major in college, right? So,
awesome.
As a fucking, I'm a hippie who can kill you, right?
Yeah.
And I go into teams, and I was petrified that I was going to lose that aspect of myself, and very quickly got to, the transformation began, and you have to allow it's almost ritualistic in and of itself, right? The training is ritualistic.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Right. And you think about those bonds, or not so much the bonds that are being laid down through those instructors. And then all of a sudden, then you go to war, and now it's a whole nother level of that.
Oh yeah.
That barbarian spirit, like you describe it. Can you talk about what that means for people? Because there's going to be a lot of, especially young men that listen to this, that like they're infatuated with guys like us. They're infatuated is a hard word, but I know what you mean. They look up to us. They aspire to have that sense of confidence and the ability to embrace fear. Can you describe that barbarian spirit a little bit? Sure.
And this is actually something else that came out of the psilocybin. It came from my first time actually. Was this like deep connection to like an ancient warrior tradition that I could not have fathomed in another way. But it showed me what it called the blood bridge, which is back through DNA and back through time and back through history. Like this is who you are, and this is who you're related to. And that was amazing. And I think that's part of the calling now for me to help our brethren specifically with this, is it wakes that up in them. And it's a good thing. It's all a positive thing. I think you have to have some, well, let me rephrase that. I know you have to have some like real world experience and real world strength. You have to train these things. You have to be good with weapons in the real world, all this stuff. And this is also why I don't think, I cannot imagine giving this sacrament to like a 19 or 20-year-old. they don't have the things that they need yet.
No,
but
not at all.
if you spend your youth, all right, growing that, all right, when you pour this on top, it takes you to like a different place mentally. And it's very positive too. It shows you, it's basically almost like another selection process. It's like, okay, you went up through these things and now you can have this too. This kind of power on top of the spirit power on top of your physical power. So it is great. I mean, it's fantastic.
It's almost like an enhancer for all of the hardship, all of the sacrifice,
yes.
all of the bloodshed, because that's the one thing I get into these kind of philosophical, metaphysical discussions with civilians all the time.
Yeah.
And trying to help them understand, right, to create some link for them to, maybe they all have a degree of empathy, but they don't have a degree of understanding.
Right. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And so trying to say, hey, man, this stuff goes way, way back. I mean,
right.
Not only the warrior spirit, but I mean, there's all kinds of connections to plant medicine that goes back thousands of years.
Oh,
right.
Yeah. Greeks, Romans, pre those civilizations, all the South American civilizations. It's funny. They've been finding these little spoons on all the Germanic warriors. That they think they're calling them basically their methamphetamine spoon, but they were attached to they keep finding it was attached to their war belt in front of their sword. And that's, they've tested it now a few times, and that is for some substances like this. And it was such a part of their stuff that it's buried with them on that belt.
Part of the ritual of their burying, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And it looks like they probably actually carried those to combat with them too. Like they bothered to take that along with the sword and the axe. It's wild.
All right. Do you think we can, talk Sephardic into maybe like issuing this?
Yeah, sure. That'd be totally dead. Well, actually, this is a funny thing. This is real. I think all these things came together, but we have a very slim window with this administration that there's a possibility that we could see at least pilot programs of this as both a pre-deployment and a post-deployment kind of what's prophylactic, if you will.
Yes.
And that would be so amazing, because that's actually part historically with the warrior class of what this was used for too. For instance, I can't remember if it was Comanches or Apaches, but one or the other. When they came back from war parties, they didn't get to go back to the village. All right. They went outside of camp with the medicine man. All right. And he'd feed them some, whatever they had, peyote, whatever it was, for a couple of days and kind of wash that shit off of them. And then they could go back to civilization. Yeah.
The Han Blesea.
Yeah.
That's right, man.
Yeah. It's actually thought that some of the Crusaders had a ritual like this too. They just kind of kept it quiet. So yeah, it's not without precedent.
Thank you for joining. I apologize for the interruption, but we got to give a little love to our one of our main sponsors. That's Firecracker Farms. If you want to spice up your diet, spice up your food, and want to get rid of those traditional hot sauces that are pretty boring, what I recommend is you check out Firecracker Farms. And what they do is they infuse the three kings of hot peppers into their beautiful salt shakers, into their salt that you can put on your food all day long. Every morning I put it on my eggs, and every time I have chicken, steak, pork, or whatever, I'm dropping that Firecracker Farms hot salt on my food, and it really spices things up. Now, the thing that I love most about this is it's a family-owned business. My friend Alex and his children, they all get together. His wife, they raise these peppers in their farm. They make it all together. They box it and they send it out together. So this is the type of company that you truly want to get behind and support, right? No more mega companies, no more all that. You want an organization that's making a product with love, designed specifically for you to help spice up your diet. All right. So check them out at firecracker.farm. Punch in your promo code, which is RUT15. That's Romeo Uniform Tango 15. And you'll get some love, not only in your salt, but also in a discount. So check them out, firecracker.farm. One of the things that I find fascinating is when you dig into the history of how the government came crashing down and made all these things Schedule I drugs back in the late 60s. Meanwhile, they're doing these experiments on people in Haight-Ashbury, giving them massive quantities of lysergic acid, right, to see what happens to them, right? It's just it's crazy, but I think now we are seeing the most recent one was, the Texas House and Senate passed overwhelmingly with that guy Hubbard, who is connected to Morgan Luttrell and Governor Perry to really dig in a $50 million allotment to begin researching Ibogaine as a substance to help this.
The only thing that scares me about that one is Ibogaine, and I have not used Ibogaine, but Ibogaine is incredibly powerful, but it actually comes with a health risk where like they make those guys wear like heart monitors and shit and have like a real doctor around when they do it. Yeah. I kind of wish they'd started with something else, but I'm glad they're A, doing something. And then, and B, this is one of the things you discover too, is all these sacraments have different uses. And for like, what is it, opioid addiction? Ibogaine is without question, it's the one. I mean, it's the one. And I guess ayahuasca is a close second. So, I mean, there's incredible value in these things. I hope that turns out great in Texas. This is exactly what we need right now.
I agree. Can you talk a little bit about some of the reason why you're a proponent for psilocybin as opposed to the others? For, instead of going to the VA and getting your handful of psychotropics and your, SSRI uptake inhibitors and your Valium and all your shit, right? That's going to kill you, right? Why psilocybin?
Because in my opinion, most of those things mask problems. And it's actually the same thing that weed and alcohol does. I'm not coming down on weed and alcohol either. They have a use, but mostly those are an escape thing. You come home, drink a bottle, what I used to do because alcohol's not a drug and weed is, drink a fifth, all right, get home from work, whatever, crack open some booze. I escape my problems for 8 hours. I wake up with a hangover. Now I got to deal with those problems again, cycle back through the day and do it again. Weirdly, psilocybin especially solves problems. Like, they're over when you do it after you've been through your ritual, whatever. It actually makes those problems go. It's a permanent and lasting effect. Now, depending on how deep your problems go, you may need some more cycles of it over the course of months and years. But it actually makes things better, so you don't need that stuff anymore. Which is, I believe that's actually one of the reasons they've gone so hard in the paint about keeping it illegal is, I mean, you're trying to upset $1 trillion industry, for big pharma. And it's funny, actually, psilocybin was still legal in the UK up until 2005.
Are you kidding me?
No,
I didn't know that at all.
You had to sell it in raw, not dried form, but yeah, it was totally illegal. You go to a farmer's market and buy psilocybin up until 2005.
That's insane to me. Absolutely.
It's wild.
I mean, but that's what you're up against. You're up against people that they can't make any money off you, so they're going to keep you down.
Well, I mean, that's actually that's really the funny thing. Like with our veterans program and what we're doing, the cost, almost all of the cost is in bringing the guys out and keeping them fed for 3 days. Like the cost of the sacrament itself is like $50. I mean, it's nothing.
Wow. Tell us about the program you're running, and first, like, why you wanted to start it, and then what the program entails.
Sure. And let me cover for you also why I use psilocybin while we're talking about that, because I kind of skipped over that in the last question. So a while back, as soon as I did psilocybin the first time, I was like, I want a way to get this to my brothers. And I did, off the books, very quietly. Like some of them, like my close old friends, be like, all right, man, come on. Or I started getting the calls in about like, man, I'm going to, however it goes, I'm going to kill myself. Like, hold on, let me have this one for like, if you have to phrase things differently depending on the guy, if he's going to kill himself. You're like, I'm just going to off myself. It's going to be like, hey man, you're going to kill yourself anyway. Why don't you just hang out for a minute? I'm going to come over. We're going to get high as fuck on some different stuff. And it's going to be totally cool. And if it's not, whatever, I leave on Monday, you can off yourself. I'll even wait in the parking lot. I'll call the cops so your wife doesn't find your body. It'd be great. Show up, bam, give him the sacrament. 8 hours later, like, that was amazing. Holy shit. Like, do you want to kill yourself? And we're like, no. The life is too amazing. Like, awesome. I'm going home. So I knew that
it is that intense too.
It is.
Like
you
see it on their faces.
Yeah.
And that's what's so insane. And it's that, what is it? It's deeper than relief. It's revelatory, right?
Yeah.
It's like it all kind of falls off them. And now all of a sudden there's like, oh wait, you mean there's a solution? There's an opportunity?
Exactly. No, it's 100% like that. You also know your job's done. You're like, yeah, this guy's good. He's straight. like I can leave right now. He's good. So I wanted a way to get this to my guys and everyone actually. I mean, the suicide epidemic that we're seeing in the United States, period, not just amongst veterans. I mean, it's insane. Some cases it's gone up like 52% in the last 20 years. These are actually things that I wasn't thinking about, though, for probably the first year that I used psilocybin. And it was about maybe 6 or 8 months ago that I felt the calling, like this kind of calling to start this church. And it had to be this way for a variety of reasons. And it kind of, in a weird way, it kind of had to be me, too, because I already wrote something that's very much counts as a holy book about psilocybin.
Yeah, man.
And it's also weirdly, I think, why he gave me an odd path, like why he came to me in this Norse pagan tradition, which didn't make a lot of sense at the time. I was going to run with it because that's what happened. Right.
When you're called, you're called.
Right. Even when you're done with like that, you'd be like, couldn't you like pick something that was a little easier? Like, no, I can't. It doesn't work that way.
You know that from a long time ago.
Oh yeah, exactly.
You don't get the easy path, brother.
But it does give us an ironclad, link to a 10,000-year-old tradition of using psilocybin specifically. So, honestly, too, before I started this, I tried a couple other things. Like I tried LSD. I didn't really care for it. There are people that can use that as a therapeutic or in a ritual manner. I won't, just because I don't think that it agrees with our systems and what we need. MDMA is also great. I do work with that one as well. But I firmly believe that psilocybin is the sacrament that you use first because it's such a wide spectrum thing. It helps with so many things, as well as it's the one that turns suicidal thought off like a light switch. And it's funny because I didn't think of it as the suicide off switch until about like 6-8 months ago. I started putting the paperwork together to do this organization. I had to go back and think, I'm like, wait, it does do that. And that actually did that for me. And it did it so well that I never thought about it again. Like I forgot that was even, it was like it erased that it had ever been a thing forever. And I don't know how many dudes that have had this one. I wasn't like hyper depressed, like I'm going to kill myself. I did go through that phase, like when I first got out for a minute, but I wasn't going to go through with it. The second one that I see amongst veterans is they get to this point where they just like wake up and they're like, what am I doing, man? Like I already did the cool height. I was riding helicopters. Now I'm going to work at the fuck crab macaroni and cheese factory. Maybe this is just all over. I've seen help with that one. And I've been through that one too. Now, neither of those two were going to affect me after my sons were born because now I'm so committed to them. But the third one, I actually went through this one as well. I'm calling it suicide by other means. You've seen like the weird shit. Like there was an absolute legend of the Special Forces Regiment that overdosed on heroin 6 months after he retired.
No.
Yeah. And at the time, we're like, what the fuck? Like fucking heroin? And you don't get it. But once you've been retired and you're out of the system and you're having all these things, all this flood and survivor's guilt, like it's like, oh fuck, man. Yeah, I get it now. Like he offed himself. It's not going to show up in the stats. That's what he did. Or, drinking and driving at, incredibly high rates just because you just don't fucking care. A lot of guys die that way too. That should count in the suicide column. But I would say I was past that one too. The one that I was still having, and this is so fucking weird, the impulsive thought. So, I've been around guns my entire life, and I did like gun journalism for a while after I retired. I was a competitive shooter. So there's fucking guns everywhere. There's like 15 guns in my office right here. About like, I don't know, 2 or 3 times a week, I would just be like walking by something and I would have this impulsive thought and be like, you should pick that gun up and shoot yourself. And it'd be like, I'd be like, oh, fuck, like, oh, wait, hold on. No other symptoms, no depression, no, just, I don't know what the fuck it was. But it was all the time. It wasn't like every day, but it was frequent. Psilocybin turned that off to the point that I forgot it even happened until I started looking at suicide statistics again. I'm like, oh fuck, man. Like, how many guys have had that same impulsive thought? They come from fucking TBI. I think it's actually like demonic whisper now. Maybe we're a little damaged from being over in the fucking land of jinns or whatever. But how many dudes have gone through with it? And of course there was no symptoms. It's just an impulsive fucking snap decision. But it makes that one completely go away. It's some wild shit. So what I did is I founded this organization. We're calling it Path of Barbarian Spirit, and it is a faith-based organization. But what we're doing is we're going to build a small retreat on some land that I've already bought in the Ozarks. Psilocybin itself, in my experience, also works best in nature anyway. It's very much like a primal enhancer.
Absolutely.
And then you also, when we think about like us, like the hard shit that we did, especially like training. All right, when you were going through BUDS and I was going through the Q course, it wasn't about like technology and goggles. It was doing hard shit in the woods with some bullshit and getting bit by ticks and chiggers, being in the cold ass ocean, all this like nature stuff. So would put veterans back in that type of environment. And we're using yurts instead of buildings. So it's like being in a fucking tent.
Yep.
It puts them back in this natural space that really helps with the reset on the backside of the ritual. It's amazing.
What I love to hear is that these stories like yours, because it means that dudes are not giving up. And then not only are they not giving up, but you're in that same Green Beret spirit, right? You're freeing the oppressed, right?
Yeah.
Like, and the oppressed is our brothers in their minds. The oppressed is, more importantly, the oppression of their souls.
Yes.
From what they volunteered to do, to expose themselves to. So I love the fact that it's a religious in nature aspect to it, because I mean, you go back and you think about, some of the greatest, warrior cultures in history, they all have that component built into it.
Yes.
But yet in the modern era, seeming even post World War I, when, you had all those guys rioting in DC because they're like, hey, you screwed us over.
Right.
That's the commonplace now. And so once again, it's on us to take care of our brothers in a way that's ritualistic, that has that barbarian spirit, that has that warrior ethos still ingrained in it, and getting rid of all the other, what is it? It's deeper than the lie or the illusion of support of the VA or whatever. Yeah. It's just like, we're done with you.
Yes.
Like, you've served your purpose. And for us now, it's like, no. Your purpose is even more important now. What are some of the things that you guys talk about in those retreats? Well,
dude, this is actually, let me back up one step before I answer that question. This is hugely important. This is one of the other ways that I know it was divine intervention, is because I'm not this fucking smart. There's actually an obstacle also. Like, I love what like Vets Inc. is doing, and Heroic Heart, and some of these other, I love what they're doing, but there's a built-in problem with it. And that's that a lot of dudes will not go to Mexico, and they will sure as fuck not go to Mexico to do drugs in a sketchy situation with people that they don't know. And that's what it sounds like. No matter how I church it up, if this was a healing retreat, that's how I would have thought about it, honestly. 3 years ago when I started, somebody would be like, hey man, we got to go to TJ, and be like, the fuck we are. We're not. And I understand why they've done this. And I understand why they continue to do this. But it's divine intervention in that he gave me a pathway that we can legally do this in the United States, because we're not a therapy. We are First Amendment and a Restoring Religious Freedom Act protected religious activity. And so we can bring guys to us in the fucking woods in Arkansas, and we are 100% legit and able to do this. And I'm actually looking at us as like the paramedics of this thing. We can give them this first little dose. All right, some guys, this is going to be enough. Some guys are going to stick with the spiritual path that I'm on. That's cool. That's awesome. Some guys it's going to passion them just enough. They're going to know that they have, real fucking problems that we can't fix. And they need to go to Mexico and get one of the other therapeutics, or they need to go to a real like head shrink and not me religious guy and get some therapy. And that's all totally cool. We're totally going to make that work. So, it's been amazing.
Well, Clay, I just, once it snapped in my head. I was like, oh my God, he's got this whole thing. It's a program. It's focused. He wrote the book. I was just like, man, I just got to bring him on so he can share with the people out there and let people know what's going on, and that they're, in particular, our brothers that are all struggling right now. So thank you so much for coming on and for sharing what you're doing. Is there any way people can donate to like your church or?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So we have if you go over to barbarianspirit.com, there's a page for donations. We have a Give Send Go up right now. We've actually developed some, in fact, we got some laying on the desk here. We developed some merchandise specifically for this because yes, we need money. We need that. But the other thing we need to do is raise awareness that this is happening. So we made some stuff that is specifically for raising awareness that psilocybin solves this problem. So that's my 22 grams beat 22 push-up sticker. It's a twofold thing. Yeah, we need op fund to build our shit out and bring guys in. We also need all the guys to know like this works, because there's other ways to get it. And man, people are hurting right now. Fuck, bro. If you are hurting right now, probably start calling. Somebody's got something. Somebody can square you away, and you're gonna love this next part. This is honestly, this is where we apply the Green Beret model to future for this. Because this is not intended to be like one little church in the woods. We got to build that first because we had to have a base of operations. We are looking at the concept of training our own priest class to be able to do this and have their own franchises all over the United States. And honestly, after we fight the first couple little legal battles, it's not even denominational at that point. Like, we're going to have Christian priests that come out of this. We're going to have, Buddhist priests that come out of this. That's fucking totally cool. All right. We will still keep you in our circle of protection here. We will show you how to, do these rituals and these focused things. It will help you, raise funds for your franchise when you get there. We're also looking at, in the near future, building a parallel nonprofit. All right. Because there are things that we can do on the religious side, and there are things that people can do on the medical research side. Never shall those two cross. But if we build a nonprofit that's parallel, that we can staff with, some ex-officer nerds and, neuroscientists and probably a shrink or two. All right. They can't come over and dictate protocol in the church. I have to do that. But hypothetically, on the backside of this, if any of our guys, once they've gone through this or while they're going through this, would like to come over and share their brain scan data in an anonymous way, or talk with these people that do medical research very much off of my camp and in the camp next door, we can do a lot of damage in a very short amount of time. Wow.
Well, Clay, I wish you all the best, man. I'm praying for you and your team, and I just can't thank you enough for coming on and sharing this. Where can people follow you, and how can they get in touch?
Mostly, we've got a contact point over at barbarianspirit.com. I spend a lot more time than I should on Twitter. I'm way off the res. Honestly,
please don't stop that.
I can't. I'm an addict.
Awesome.
We're not great on the other social media platforms yet, but we're getting there. But yeah, please come check us out. Look at what we've done. You've got a couple bucks. Help us out. Buy some merch. Just tell your friend. Tell your friends that this works. That's going to help us carry momentum into this.
Awesome. Thank you, brother. God bless you.
All right. Thank you, brother.